What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Rascal Reacts, where you ask for my 2 cents and I'll give you a nickel. So this is Cholo Trucker. If you don't know who Cholo Trucker is, you probably should, because he has like 9 different channels on YouTube, right? How to be a cholo, how to be a trucker, how to be a middle-aged fighter and still kick ass, how to be a big fan of football but not see your team go to the Super Bowl, right? The list goes on. He's a man of many interests, and I'm only partly joking here, right? But in this case, Cholo Trucker is his main channel, and he doesn't really have a theme to his channel. He just kind of talks about whatever he feels like talking about, right? And rarely is that gangs, right? It's not something he talks about a lot. So this really caught my attention. He posted a little while ago, but this is something that got my attention. And in listening to it, man, he makes a lot of really good points. So we're going to get into it. I changed the playback speed, right? So it's at 1.5. Excuse me. It's at 1.5 because I think his speaking style makes it okay for me to do that and you still understand him. But let me know in the comments how it actually works out. I actually do that a lot. And then also you may notice he's got the whole grayscale thing going on. So I have done the best I can to tone down my natural vibrance to not kind of show up what he's got going on. I couldn't match it exactly, right? Because I'm not him, but I got the memo. I got the memo and I'm going for it. So let's get into this. Before we do, peace between North and South solves the gang problems. I'm actually not going to show the clips where he talks about that. And not because I'm not agreeing with him, but his main point there is just that even if you stop all the beef between North and South, that doesn't do shit to stop gang violence in Southern California. And I agree with him, but there's a lot of other good stuff he says. So let's go.
But check this out, man. When you get into a street gang, you get in knowing that there's war. This ain't the Boy Scouts homes. You don't get in and it's like, hey, be here 6 o'clock early in the morning sharp because we're going to pick up trash around the community. Then we're going to go have a car wash, man, and donate that money to the wounded veterans. It ain't the Boy Scouts, dog.
So, and there's going to be people who say, hey, but people in my neighborhood do that, right? The homeboys in my neighborhood, the gang members in my neighborhood, they do that. And that very well could be true, right? That does happen in a lot of places. But there's a million reasons people join gangs, right? That could be a different conversation for another time. But you don't join gangs just to do community service. If that's what you want to do, then there's plenty of other groups you could join, right? Plenty of people do that stuff in the community without ever being gang members. And I think that's his point.
And all these old stories, man, about, oh, man, hey, Holmes, you know why your two vatos are going at against each other? Because back in 1979, this vato was messing with that vato's hyena, and that's why you guys are fighting. No, it's not.
Right.
No, it isn't. You're fighting because that's what you do.
Right. So, and that's something that I really learned doing community work with young folks in particular. And you realize that every shooting creates shooters, right? Yes, neighborhoods have histories and that could be relevant. But when the violence of gangbanging really becomes real to you, at least this is in my experience and also what I saw with other folks, but you let me know in the comments if you agree or not. But you fight those guys because you're told to fight those guys. We don't like those guys, whatever. But when those guys catch you slipping, walking home from school and jump you, oh, then it gets real, right? When they take shots at you, when they take the life of your homeboy or your relative, when people from over there, wherever over there is, come and do something specific to you, they hurt you, they scare you, they harm you, they tell on you, you get locked up, whatever the case may be. That's when really the history of the neighborhood's not getting along don't mean shit. Because now I'm going to run up the score on these dudes. These are my enemies. The gang told me they're my enemies. Then they behaved in such a way that made it personal. So I'm going to get personal back. And again, that's what I've seen at least.
Yeah, maybe there is a little bit of history that's what started it off, but that's not what you're fighting today. Or many years ago in the 90s. Because that's what we do. There's no logical explanation. If you want to live that life, that is a life of hypocrisy. You will contradict yourself in that life. You either do it or you don't do it. But there's no logical explanation. You just do it.
Nothing has been said that is more true about gangbanging, right? And I just want to skip to another part, and I'll give you guys my thoughts in a minute. But let's go just up ahead right here.
I respect that life. Well, maybe you should stop respecting it, because that sends a bad message. Maybe you should stop respecting that lifestyle. It's not a good message to send. Think of what you're saying. You want youngsters not to get into street gangs, but then you go and say, I respect it. I respect that life. So if that youngster wants respect, getting to that lifestyle, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth, Holmes. I don't respect that lifestyle. I don't disrespect it either. Right. I understand it. Yeah, I understand it. And I don't look down on anybody, that's involved in it, because I understand it. I understand the mentality and the addiction that it comes with. I'm not talking about drug addiction. I'm just talking about that gang street mentality addiction. Okay, but how am I going to say I respect the lifestyle? Man, I respect it, and then want kids not to join gangs? If I'm over here saying I respect the lifestyle. No, I don't respect it, but I don't disrespect it either.
I think that's another very powerful point, and something that I imagine there's a lot of people around our age, right? My age, Solo Trucker's age. I think he's a couple years younger, but really struggle with, is I've said before, and I'll continue to say that I don't think prison gangs are good for our community. And I say that because, and I don't mean our community in prison or in the streets, either one, right? And he's talking specifically about street gangs. And I say that because I don't see the redeeming quality in their existence, right? I've been hesitant to say that about street gangs because that same notion. I don't have a problem with people being proud of where they're from. I say all the time, be proud of where you're from. Just don't hate on other people because they're from someplace else, right? There's nothing wrong with taking pride in your community, whether your community is your street or your apartment complex or your side of town or your whole city or your whole county or your whole state or half the state or whatever, right? There's nothing wrong. There's nothing criminal. There's nothing abnormal about taking pride in that. It's the behavior, right? It's the violence. It's the beefing with each other. And Solo Trucker makes a good point of, but that is gangbanging. So if you're like, hey, I'm proud to be from the neighborhood, not from the neighborhood, my community, but from my gang, right? And man, I'm still proud to be from my gang. I stand on being from my gang. I just don't want to do gang stuff. Well, you can't have it both ways, right? You can't have it both ways. And he gets into that here coming up. So let's go.
Do I want peace? Yeah, I want peace. This whole thing about, hey, man, it's, as long as these two gangs get along, that's not the goal, dog. The goal is for those two gangs not to exist. You know how many vatos, dog, are talking about, like, oh, man, you know what? Man, we need peace. Hey, we need peace. Hey, homie, then why are you claiming your vato for then? Drop it.
Right.
Well, you can still be proud of where you're from. And, okay, think on how that's coming off. Yeah. Think of how that's coming off, man.
I mixed up the clips right there, right? You guys see that? But I'm going to keep going with it anyway. So I just commented on this part that he said instead of the other part. I echo that I have respect for individuals in the lifestyle. I have people who I love, I care about deeply, who I've known for a long time, who are at different stages of their kind of mentality, their affiliation, whatever. And not specific to one neighborhood, not even specific to one gang or one color or one number or whatever. It's across the board, right? And that there are people, again, who I do love and respect that are caught up. So it's not a personal thing. Hey, F that vato, to hell with that dude, that sucker, woo, woo, woo. It's the lifestyle, right? And what that lifestyle comes with. I don't like the violence. I don't like the harm. I don't like the destruction. I don't like the trauma. And honestly, all that shit is a part of gangbanging. So, like I said, I've used that before in the context of prison gangs, but Cholo Truckers kind of challenged me in this to use that same lens in looking at street gangs, and I can't say I disagree with them, right? gangs, right? What we understand to be gangs, violent groups of people that get off on other violent groups of people. They're not healthy, homes. And if you're not with that behavior, if you're not with that activity, then why celebrate it? Why still stand on that? And I get why. It's hard, but are you really standing on it? Is that really what you're about? I think it's a legit question.
That you can still be proud of where you're from and want to promote something else. Okay, the gang life is a life of hatred, is a life of anger. Like I was saying earlier, it's not the Boy Scouts, dog.
Yeah. Anger, fear, and pain. That's the holy trinity of gang members, right? And other people too. And it's anger, fear, and pain. That's what we all wrestle with. All right, let's jump ahead a little bit.
Every gang, not every gang. Okay, some gangs are stronger than ever, but most gangs they're depleted, homie. Especially from what it was in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Okay,
that's what we all say.
Watered down. But here's the thing, though. Let me tell you guys this. All right. Because I've heard this, man. It's like, oh man, we got more in common with them than you think, man. We're more alike than you think. We this, we that, the same thing. So what, dog? You're from a street gang. You think any of that matters? Let me tell you guys something, Holmes. All right. Your worst enemy, when you're from a barrio, your worst enemy. Let me put the window. Your worst enemy is most likely from the same town you're from, from the same city that you're from. That's gonna be your worst enemy. You guys grew up in the same town. Right. Same city, went to a lot of the same schools, listened to the same music, party at the same places, dress up with the same clothes.
Right.
Dog, back in the 90s, homie, all the vatos pretty much looked the same, dog. That didn't matter.
Right.
All bumping the same jams, partying at the same places, wearing the same clothes, same hairstyle, same everything. Heck, you can't tell who was who, dog. That's why so many vatos were getting hit up. What's up? That's where you're from. Because outside of that, dog, everybody was pretty much looking the same.
Right.
Dressing the same, walking the same, talking the same, acting the same. A lot of vatos being with the same high-nice. They have so much in common, but yet they're the worst enemies.
Right. And there's a theme to what Cholo Trucker's talking about, right? And I'm gonna kind of wrap it up here in just a second. So let's go here. This is the last clip.
You're from Mislos, homie. Your main rivals, guess what? Most likely they're from Mislos. You're from Pico Rivera. Your worst rivals were from Pico Rivera. Name the city. Let's go. Name them off. There's a few barrios, dog, where their worst enemy was from another city. But that's
and a quick note on that point. In Northern California, there's a lot of talk of North versus South violence, right? And for good reason, because there's issues between North and South, right? But don't think that what Cholo Trucker's saying here doesn't apply to Northern California, right? Because there was a ton of red on red violence, and there still is, just not as much, and there's consequences if you catch a case. But it's tons of neighborhoods started when I was younger because these two guys are from the same barrio, they're from the same hood. Somebody sleeps with somebody's old lady or smacks somebody's brother or does something, a bad drug deal or whatever it may be, right? And so they're like, hey, fool, we're going to break away and start our own hood. We're going to break away and start our own gang. But there's still incredible similarity, right? And so, yes, like even with North-South for a long time, there was a pretty big difference in how Northerners in Northern California and Southerners from Northern California dressed and carried themselves and the music they listened to and the hairstyles and the language. And there was a cultural difference, right? Because guys from Northern California that claim Northern California look like they're from Northern California. And guys from Northern California that claim Southern California a lot of times went out of their way to look like people from Southern California. And that's not to say that we didn't have areas like, especially some of the more rural spots that, cats was all creased up and hairnets and a whole 9 yards. Sure. And we had that in the Bay too, right? Don't get me wrong. But there's a little twist to it, right? The dickies weren't up to your belly button, right? And didn't mean they were down, in your thighs, but it just our own little flavor, right? Our own little style. And it's funny because now even that distinction is being lost, right? And so it doesn't mean there's, the violence isn't just as real. And the passion and the sticking up for your homeboys and the F the other side, no matter what side you're on, all that shit's real. But everybody looks the same hairstyle, same language, same all that. So very true. And it applies in Northern California too, not just in Southern California where you think, oh, well, everybody's Southsiders, right? And I think all of this applies outside of just the brown community as well, or the predominantly brown community. I'd be curious, folks, tap in on the comments to let me know, but I think a lot of this rings true for the black community, the Asian community, Pacific Islander community, other communities that wrestle with being gang influenced and gang affiliated on the street gang level. I think it's similar.
That's probably because they're right on the border of the town. But outside of that, dog, your worst enemy is from the same city you're from, went to the same high school. So either do it or don't be part of a gang. So anyway, I just thought I'd make this video, Holmes, and I really talk about gangs because then it attracts a certain fan base, and this whole thing about like, oh man, you know what, I respect it. I'll say it again. I mean, I don't respect it, but I don't disrespect it. I do understand it.
Right.
But see, maybe respecting is the wrong way to go. I'll end it with this. You got a Wapo man that did a lot of time in a gang, incarceration, all that stuff, right? In the neighborhood. And then you got another Wapo who started up his own little business in the neighborhood. Pick one, whatever it is. Barbershop, taqueria, little law firm. Let's go with that, law firm. Okay, all right. Who's gonna be more respected? Who are people gonna wanna hear more from to get information? It's gonna be the Vato that did the time, the Vato that was from the streets, homie. Not the person that started their own business. So maybe it's time you start shifting your mentality a little bit, or don't. It's up to you. But maybe it's time you start shifting your mentality and start respecting people that have been law-abiding citizens, regardless of where they grew up. Even heck, if they grew up in a bad neighborhood but started their own business, kept their nose clean, why not show them a little bit more respect? I'm not telling you to disrespect the other Vatos. I'm not saying, see, it's the whole thing. It's like, oh, you don't respect them, so that means you disrespect them. No, but maybe there's too much respect. Because as the mentality is right now, everybody wants to hear from the street person. And not just now, it's been like that for a long time. But the person that kept their nose clean, started a business, and actually can give you some glecha on starting a business, man. No interest shown there.
That's powerful. And when he first started that last little segment of, let's say you got two Vatos, right? I have an analogy, but he put a great twist on it, an excellent twist. When I talk about the creation of the acronym HOMIE, right? Help others move in excellence, and where that stems from, which was long before YouTube, social media and stuff. I use the analogy of similarly two guys, right? You got three guys in the neighborhood. One of them goes off to prison, right? Catches a case, goes to the joint, does his time. The other two, right, they're the three amigos. The other two are still in the neighborhood. One of them gets involved with all the street activities, all the shenanigans, and now he's the D-boy, right? He's the plug, and he's getting paid. And the other one gets almost a little scared straight, right? Like, damn, fool, that was scary. I seen somebody get shot. My best friend caught a case. He's gone for 20 years. Maybe I should reevaluate my choices. And still love the homeboy, still, everything, but he opens up a business, or he becomes the manager at a restaurant, or whatever the case may be. And then that guy that put in that work for the neighborhood, he comes home. And when he comes home, first thing he wants to do is see his two best friends. And they're both standing in front of him. And they both offer from the best of what they have, right? All these dudes love each other, right? No homo or pause or whatever they can say. But, it's canalismo, it's love there. And so the one is like, hey, bro, I could put you on, right? I could put you on. Like, this ain't even a front, Holmes. This on the house just to kind of get you going. Here's a car. You know what I mean? Do your thing. He loves his homeboy. He's giving him from what he has, right? That's all he has. The other guy's like, hey, fool, I can get you a job. You know what I mean? I ain't tripping off your record, nothing else, bro. I'm the manager. Or shit, I'm the owner. I can hire you. Help get parole off your back. You get a paycheck coming in. You know what I mean? It ain't much, but it's something. Get you started, right? Could you look at the dude who's offering the holly and say, that ain't no real homie? That ain't no real homeboy. Fuck him. Of course not. right? Nobody in their right mind. See, there's more than one way to be a homie to somebody. That's where the help others move in excellence comes in, right? There's more than one way to look out for your neighborhood. There's more than one way to do that. What Cholo Trucker is arguing and saying, and I think making a pretty compelling case is difficult to do that. It's hypocritical to do that still within the confines of this gang structure, right? And if you notice through his video, that's what all that was there is a trend, especially by some older people, right? And I put myself in this to a degree. There is a trend of trying to sanitize gangbanging, right? I'm not gonna let go of it. But man, if our gang could get along with other people so that we don't have enemies, and if we could learn to respect people that are just like us, and if we can let go of the history of why we were fighting, and if we can basically just be the Boy Scouts, right? Then being in a gang is okay. And what he's saying is, fool, that's not a gang then, right? All that stuff is great. All that stuff is admirable. But let's do that and drop the gang stuff. Right? Again, not your neighborhood in terms of community, but that barrio tag, right? Those numbers, that should go. Anyways, I'm gonna say, it's the wrong channel, but help others move in excellence. That's what homies do. Help yourself at the same time because you're worth it. Help your community because they need you. Check out Cholo Trucker, man, and we'll, like I said, we'll try to have him on the homie hangout soon, but. Also, if you ask for my 2 cents, I'm going to give you a nickel, man. This was a damn good video, and I encourage you guys to go check it out.